Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance. My name is Chaz Andres, and as always, let's get started with the news. And the biggest story of this week, well, there wasn't really one. It was kind of a quiet week in Magic Finance for once. The biggest story of the week in Magic was probably the Judge Academy news, but that doesn't really impact us here in the digital realm. There's also been a little bit more fallout from Mythic Championship 4, but it hasn't really made a lot of waves. See, most people are waiting to see if Hogak is banned in Modern before making any other buying and selling decisions, and that's not going to happen for another couple of weeks still, so all is pretty much quiet. Now, if you're a longtime viewer of this video series, you probably already know that August is the slowest month of the Magic calendar, full stop, and that tends to lead to some pretty sluggish prices. People are at the pool and at the beach and going to camp and doing literally anything other than playing Magic, and what that means is that prices tend to be really soft between, last week or so and, after Labor Day. Now, it's probably not time to start buying in yet because prices are likely to continue dropping throughout the month of August, but it is time to start hoarding your tickets in preparation. Seasonal trends aren't as big a thing on Magic Online as they are in paper, but they are still a thing. So yeah, you're going to want to try and increase the size of your collection when prices are at their lowest. That's just common sense, and that's going to be later this month. Let's move on to Gaining Ground, where in Standard it was actually Leyline of the Void for the third straight week, gaining 5 tickets from 12 up to 17. Now, if you watched last week's video, you probably heard me say it looked like the price chart was peaking, maybe the card would even drop off in price over the next week. But I also said at the end of the video, when we looked at those sales figures, that Leyline of the Void was still selling absurdly well, and if the price increased, that would be why. Turns out these sales numbers are actually really predictive. It's helped on other cards in the past month too, like Red and 6, where sales figures have actually been more important than price charts, so that's something we definitely have to keep in mind going forward. To that end, Leyline of the Void still sold pretty well this week, but it didn't sell nearly as well as it had been the past couple of weeks, so there are signs that it is finally slowing down. My guess is it's not going to be next week's biggest standard gainer, but I doubt it's going to lose value, or if it does, it won't lose much. So I know that feels like kind of a wishy-washy answer, but I'll say that if you need Leyline of the Void, buying in now is fine, but I wouldn't expect it to gain, 3, 4, 5 tickets a week for the next couple of weeks either. I just don't see anything in either the price chart or the sales figures that indicate that. Let's move over to Modern, where our biggest gainer of the week was Force of Vigor, a Modern Horizons card, which nearly doubled in price, jumping 4 tickets from 5 up to 9. Why the increase? Well, it did see a lot more play than expected at Mythic Championship 4, mostly out of the sideboard, but somewhat out of the main deck as well. And if you're going to be playing in a Modern environment where Leyline of the Void is the most played card by far, well, maybe you need a way to take it out early, say without mana. Yeah, there's Force of Vigor for you. Now, it's possible, perhaps even likely, that both Leyline of the Void and Force of Vigor are going to drop in price once Hogak is banned and they're going to be less important. But Force of Vigor still has a really good long-term profile. It's also good against other artifact-based decks, things like Grixis Urza, Mono Green Tron, even Affinity, that are going to be doing a lot better once Hogak is gone. So, Force of Vigor's short-term profile may be in line for some drops, but long-term I really do feel like this card is going to be a pretty big part of the Modern metagame. Let's move on to our biggest loser, where in Standard it was Karn the Great Creator dropping 5 tickets from 25 down to 20. And I'm a little stumped at the reason why. Karn is still a really big part of the Modern metagame, but not such a big part that it's likely to get banned anytime soon. So, I don't know, maybe the drop is just due to people, having to buy them in order to test for the Mythic Championship and then selling their copies afterward, which can sometimes lead to cards dropping off after a Mythic Championship despite those cards doing pretty well at it. At any rate, there's no real metagame reasons for this card to be losing value, and it was actually the 6th best-selling card of the week by price, so people are still buying in. I'm guessing it rebounds at some point, maybe not right away since August is such a slow market, but at some point it will be back up to 25 and above. Let's move over to our biggest modern loser now, where this week it was Renin 6 dropping 18 full tickets from 100 all the way down to 82. And as with Karn, this seems to have more to do with the volatility of the MTGO market than anything having to do with the modern metagame. I also think this is probably people who bought their copies of Renin 6 to test for Barcelona, selling their copies and flooding the market a little bit, causing a drop. Because honestly, this card did really well in Spain, and it is going to be a massive part of the modern metagame moving forward. In fact, over in Paper Magic, the price did nothing but increase all week long. Now, earlier in this video, I said that we should pay more attention to sales figures and less attention to price charts, and Renin 6 is still at the very top of the overall sales by price list. Of course, it's also the most expensive card in Modern by a lot, so if it wasn't at the top of that list, we'd be in real trouble. At any rate, I think I'm already going to break my own rule here and say that I actually think this card has further to fall. I might look silly when it's 100 tickets again next week, of course, but honestly, if I was in the market, I would hold off and see where this one's going to bottom out. Not going to sell the copies of Renin 6 that I do have because I really like the card long term, but if I'm in the market to buy, I'm waiting at least a week. Alright, now the sneak of the week this week is Blast Zone, the second straight War of the Spark card that I'd like to highlight in this segment. Blast Zone has proven itself over the past couple of weeks to be every bit the modern staple that it looked during preview season, and its price has been increasing for a while as well. This card bottomed out around 3 tickets back in late June, it's up over 8 tickets now and heading toward 9. Now, it's possible that you shouldn't buy in right now because Dreadhorde Arcanist followed kind of a similar chart and it started to tank after a while, but you're definitely going to want these for your modern collection at some point, so I thought I'd highlight it here and now, especially since it's been gaining so much ground lately. As always, we're going to end the week by taking a look at the MTGO Trader sales data over the past 7 days. And this gives us a great idea of which cards are selling the best right now, regardless of price increases or decreases. Looking at overall sales by volume, I'd like to highlight Core Set 2020 Uncommon Veil of Summer. Veil of Summer was the best-selling non-land card of the week by volume, and it's done nothing but rise in price in Paper Magic since Core Set 2020 was released. Online, however, it's been sort of kicking around between 1 and 1.5 tickets. Now, Core Set 2020 has been underdrafted on MTGO, as you can see from the Leyline of the Void price, and Veil of Summer sees play in formats as old as Legacy. I'm not sure this is ever going to be a big moneymaker, but I definitely grabbed a set of these for my personal collection while the set is still, in print, and Veil of Summer is relatively cheap. Moving on to overall sales by price, we actually have a change this week for the first time in a while. Mox Opal has leapfrogged Force of Negation to take that number 2 spot just beneath Ren and 6. And this increase in demand has been met by a small increase in price as well. Mox Opal jumped about 4 tickets this week, going from 38 to 42, and it's likely due to, the success of Hardened Scales at the Mythic Championship, as well as the continued success of decks like Grixis Urza and other decks running Mox Opal. Is the card primed for a massive gain? I don't think so, at least not right now. I don't think any card in Modern is going to make a major rally this month, or at least not until we see what happens at the next Banned and Restricted announcement. So, you can buy this card if you want, but I don't think you need to go run and do it. And that's all I've got for you this week. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Chaz Andres, and I will see you again next Monday morning for another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance.